man, how is everybody doing? For real, it's a beautiful day. Today's day number 4 of my fast, man. I'm feeling bright with energy, man. Tapping in, and man, I got some shit for y'all today. I got some things for y'all, man. And what we gonna go over today is the Kundalini organs opposite the Kundabuffer organ, the Qlipoth, the tree of death, what the tree of life is. And we're gonna debunk all the satanic garbage about how the Kabbalah is only satanic, and then I'm gonna show you how. I'm gonna show you why it's actually associated with different aspects, different of society, with different masks. And we have a tree of life in almost all of them, and they all associate with the inner network of energy as well as the outer network of creation. And we're going to talk about how the voice of God actually is the army, the voice, and it makes up the different spheres, and then the angels that rule the spheres. And then I'm going to show you how it actually translates internally, and show you how it's a map, a road to understanding different virtues that we need to embody in order to ascend correctly. You know what I'm saying? And that, we just gonna go in, man. We gonna go in for real. I'm excited for y'all today, man, because this is a topic I've been wanting to go in on, and it's definitely needs to be discussed, because I see a lot of people talking about how it's so demonic and evil and all that jazz, you know what I'm saying? But we can't forget that we're always told half truths by the higher ups, the elite, or when we peek into anything, really, so we always have to question, understand, and experience it for ourselves, man. So real talk, we're gonna get down to business, man. So right here we have the anatomy of the occultist, you know what I'm saying? And so with that being said, look, right here we have the tree of life, right? How it's laid upon the body, and how it perfectly resonates with the different realms that we need to ascend through internally, so we can reach the heavens and reunite back with our soul. You know what I'm saying? And it shows from the realm of Malkuth to Yesod to Nitzak, or to Had, and to Nitzak, and then to Tipereth, to Chesed, to Geburah, to Chakma, Binah, and Cather. So Cather, Chakma, and Binah are actually the father, the mother goddess, and the Christ, and the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit is the Kundalini energy that rises upon the merits of the heart and a network of nerves and hormones. So we really have to understand what that means, though, because if we look at it physically, we look at nerves and hormones, etc., and the different glands and the merits of the heart, and what does it mean to embody the different characteristics of the virtues of the divine, and what does it mean to have an ego, you know what I'm saying? Because I see people talking about all the time, we need to kill the ego. When it comes up, it's like this outer thing, or people tell me the ego is a tool to be used, etc. And I could understand your points of view, but what is it really down to the base level? What does it mean to resonate on the levels of the klipothic energy? The energy of the dark light. You know what I'm saying? And what does that mean to become illuminated in the klipothic energy, which most of these Kabbalists, quote unquote, in the higher ups are actually doing? They're understanding how to resonate with the klipothic energies, because as you see here, if you resonate with the tree of life, you understand it from the base of Malkuth, and you rise up through the realms, which actually, I'm gonna zoom in, and you can see for yourself Jachin and Boaz. So we have the Ida and Pingala, the two different energies that rise up the spinal column along the Sushumna canal, which helps in order to raise those energies, we have to transmute the base energy and work with the sexual energy, the primal force, the prana, the energies of creation, and rise them up through the realms of internal sacrifice, so we can resonate with these different energies on a divine level. And I'm going to get more into what it means to do that, and how the Qlipoth is actually a manifestation of the opposite end of the spectrum. And I'm going to talk about, we're just going to get in. We're going to get into it. I'm too hyped. All right, so look, we have the two different sides of the spinal columns, the two different energies balanced, yin and yang. And with that being said, in order to ascend these energies through the realms and reach Cather, we have to understand the different energies of the chakra system and also the meridians in the Taoist culture. So I'm going to show you right here, we have the Taoist inner alchemy anatomy chart, relationship with the body, mind, and spirit. So everything on a physical level is translated to the 6 other bodies beyond this one. And we have to take those into consideration when talking about Kundalini energy and how it rises and what it does, and also the different symptoms, and how to facilitate the chrism, the sacred secretion, and the Kundalini organ synergy to unite with one another. Because we have the sacred secretion from the father, and then we have the raising of the Kundalini energy from the mother, the goddess, and we have to reunite them together and convert the energy, the pranic, the sexual energy, into prana, life force energy. Then it will convert into solar energy in the heart. And then when it raises up to Cather, it will become Christic energy, and that's when the true chrism happens on a full alchemical spectrum. And we have examples all throughout life, all throughout time, of the people who actually successfully made this happen, and they could do amazing things, and they were demonized, and they had many followers who exemplified what they were doing on this earth, and we have to look at that and remember that we're human beings. They were human beings at one point in time. They just understood everything. They had the time. They put in the work, the efforts to ascend through the different realms within, so they can raise the Christic energy and convert the sexual energy into solar energy, into Christic. And that's the process of the alchemical process of how the Kundalini will rise and facilitate the physical self to align with the other 6 energy bodies that we have behind us. And it's so profound. Like, we have to remember this, that this isn't something to be demonized. This is a beautiful thing, and it shows the ascent through the different realms. So we have the kingdom, which is earth, the foundation. We have to understand how to move through it, understand the foundation, the mechanism of the being, and dude, like that's amazing, you know what I'm saying? And just to rise through, once you understand about the foundation, you reach the splendor of experiencing the spirit completely. And it does take sacrifice to get to these levels. How are you going to live completely based off of all the old ways of living, like how they wanted us to live back in the day, and then base what's possible on what we know is half truths and the lies given to us, so we can really be directed off of the path. So when I really talk about the higher ups, the elite, I'm talking about the ones that are understanding the foundation. They understand this. They understand how sexual energy is so powerful that they've constructed our way of living and thinking on a subconscious level to completely have us blinded. And what that's going to do is have us live more off of the ego and have our energy into our toroidal flow, the Kundalini, turn into the Kundabuffer Organ, which is the opposite end of the spectrum. So if you look in the astral plane and you have the Kundabuffer Organ active, This is why it's important to become fully conscious and aware, because the consciousness travels through the other 6 dimensions of life. And so when you take the astral body and you go into the astral plane, for example, you're going to take your level of consciousnness that you have waking and into your dream state. And that is how you start lucid dreaming. And that's how you start roaming through the astral plane and being able to go through it consciously. But the less conscious you are, the less you're going to be able to remember your dreams. The less you're going to be able to recall. The less you're going to be able to recall what actually happened, because and do more things consciously or not. You know what I'm saying? And so, in order to tap in, we got to remember that we have to awaken consciousness, and in order to do that, we have to eliminate the ego and resonate with the spheres of creation, the sephira of creation, and we rise through the realms, through trials and tribulations, and understanding how to sacrifice what is not needed. You know what I'm saying? And and when we talk about sacrifice, we're gaining a whole world and new way of looking, viewing, feeling, and understanding what we are and what's beyond us. And I think that's beautiful. And so sacrifice and discipline is a gift that can be cultivated and become a way of living. And I feel like to seek, to want to understand, to learn, and to not only read and theorize, but to consciously integrate them into life and see how they actually play out and play a part with our existence and what's beyond and what's within. As above, so below. The grandest quote, to me at least, you know what I'm saying? Because it just translates, we have the cosmos within us, the realms of creation within us, the different angels that and gods that rule the different realms that are all the voice of the God, the source, the Ansaf Or, and the army of God, man, and it speaks volumes. It speaks volumes. If we translate the angelic names, Raphael, the healing of God, and Uriel, they're all. If you just look at the meaning of the names, bro, like, it shows you that it was spoken to existence, and that energy and realm of creation is governed by that quote-unquote angel, that embodiment of what that energy embodies. You know what I'm saying? From God, from the Ansaf Or, from the limitless light. You know what I'm saying? And such a beautiful thing. And at the same time, so if you look at these different things, right, we see the chakras, how they associate with the different spheres, and how they rule the different realms of creation as well. So if you take the yogic aspect of looking at the chakral system, we can apply different methods and energies to actually open up these realms of creation. So if we do meditation, if we do certain mudras and hand signs, which will actually alter the mechanism in such a way that if you just change your hand signs to this and to this, it will change the expansion of your diaphragm as opposed to your lungs higher. You know what I'm saying? So diaphragm lower expansion or one higher. And you can sit there and try it yourself if you're able to consciously observe the body. You know what I'm saying? And that's definitely a way to you can cultivate that level of understanding yourself too by going in and eliminating the ego's thought process, man, because how are we going to base what's possible on what we were taught in the past? We can't keep going back and forth. We have to understand really how to work the mechanism on a base level, and that's all through the inner workings and experiencing what all of this means to you. The only reason why I'm speaking this way to you is because I can feel how these associate with the different chakral systems, and I can feel how these can actually relate to the different energies of creation, and even on a base level, we have the kingdom, we have the world of action, you know what I'm saying, and it rises up through the realms, and in order to manifest the Kundalini energy to rise with the chrism, we have to get to the sun, the heaven, you know what I'm saying, and it's just amazing. It's amazing. And then you see in the Taoist culture how all of this is associated. All of this is the same thing. You know, it rises on a network of nerves. You know what I'm saying? And neurons, man. And all of this is associated with different elements as well. Like 4, the heart, fire element. 3, liver, wood element, which is also earth. Kidneys, water element. Lungs, metal element, which is air. You know what I'm saying? So it's just amazing. I'm gonna put a link to this because, you know, I want to keep it moving, man, because I could go out just on this stuff for a while. And I'll leave this for you so you can peep game. But look, as you can see, we have Cather Chakman Binal, which is the thalamus, the pineal gland, and the thalamus, the pineal gland, and the pituitary gland. You know what I'm saying? And you can see it represented physically. So, and you can see where these sit physically. Tipureth is the heart. You know, the reproductive organs is the Asad. You know, the foundation, you know, of creation. You know what I'm saying? And like, that's so beautiful. You know what I mean? And so we're gonna get into it. So what is the tree of life? You know, I'm gonna read a couple articles and excerpts from very, very viable sources. Samael Aun Weor, he's an amazing individual. I definitely, if you're really trying to look into this path and how to work it properly, and you want to have an example, and you want to have that's done everything, that's done it all, and is no longer practicing, man. You know what I'm saying? And you can look into his life and see for yourself that the day that he passed away, it was December 24th, and every Christ, you know what I'm saying, in time was born on the 25th, man. And he had supposedly, you know, it was written and recorded by his wife and the people around him that he experienced his 3-day death and then resurrection. But I'll let you guys look into that yourself, you know, and judge the information yourself, because I'm not trying to just, you know, step on anybody's toes, man, because at the end of the day, you got to experience this stuff yourself, which I'm trying to give you the experience. And but, you know, always search and seek, man. You know what I'm saying? That's what we are. You know, we gotta reunite with the source, you know. And so what is the tree of life? Just as the laws that manage our physical universe, our physical world, are complex and difficult to comprehend, the laws that sustain all the dimensions and the levels of existence and non-existence are complex and difficult to comprehend. Thus, we rely on a variety of symbols and maps in order to aid our comprehension. Every religion is founded upon a mathematical scientific basis, which in the Judeo-Christian is symbolized by the tree of life. Religions around the world have a tree of life, though the means of representing it vary. In the Western religions, the tree of life is known from the story of Genesis. And out of the ground made Jehovah Elohim to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life lives also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Genesis 2:9. And Jehovah Elohim said, "Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life, and eat and live forever." So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the garden of Eden cherubim and the flaming sword which churned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. So the tree of life sprouts from the base, the foundation of Malkuth, and rises through the energy of Yesod, or falls down into the Qlipoth. And that either becomes Kundalini energy in its positive aspect, rising towards the heavens, what houses the pituitary thalamus and the pituitary and the thalamus, and where the sacred secretion happens is housed by, what is this word? The cherubim. So if we look at another annotation of that, cerebrum, you know what I'm saying? and the flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. And the flaming sword is the molten hot energy of the Kundalini organ. And wow, you know what I'm saying? Like he's saying it's symbolized right there. He placed at the east of the garden towards the sun of Eden cherubim, and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. The tree of life rises upon the merits of the heart and a network of neurons and nerves, man, and hormones. So wow, you know what I'm saying? Like we have to tap in, and it's symbolized right here, and throughout the Judeo-Christian scriptures, there are important hints about the nature of the tree of life. Happy is the man that findeth chakma, wisdom, and that the man getteth tabun, binah, understanding. She is a tree of life to them, and that lay hold upon her. And happy is everyone that retaineth her. Proverbs 3:18. The fruit of the righteous, Sadiq, is a tree of life. Proverbs 11:30. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. To him that overcometh will I give to eat of the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of God. Revelation 2:7. In the midst of creation, in the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river was there the tree of life. Each side of the river, you know what I'm saying, that flows upwards was the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nation. So we have the number 12 again, with the different astrological signs, which bear 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her every single month. You know, and through those 12 months, the 12 astrological signs, when the solar sign is entered by the moon phase of the nurturing energy, this is when the chrism happens for the 3 days. And in order to have this successfully occur, we have to understand the network of energy within us, and how to eliminate the ego, and how to manifest it on a cosmic scale from the base, which is the physical, and so which bear the 12 manner of fruits, which align with the 12 cranial nerves. So when we expand our energies, you know, I feel like this is where I haven't read this anywhere, or even like, you know, I feel this from the depth of my soul. You know what I'm saying? That I feel personally that ESP, extrasensory perception, you know, the energies of the positive energies of creation. So like to be able to, you know, for example, you know, be psychic, you know what I'm saying, be able to lift objects with the mind, to truly manifest alchemically on a physical level, you know, to be able to clairvoyantly and intuitively understand what people need, and vice versa, what needs to be done. You know, you have that level of direction, that clairvoyancy, intuition, you know, clairsentience, clairaudience, you know, all of these extrasensory perceptions. I believe when the Kundalini rises completely and the sacred secretion is really made to happen, this is where it manifests, because the 12 cranial nerves, which control different parts and aspects of the body, you can see that once it's expanded into the 24, that's what the 24, I believe the elders or the kings, I can't remember the exact word, but what that does is it expands your energy field in the mind, so that your neural pathways are going to grow, and you're going to be able to tap into different types of energies on a physical level and energetically, because now you're expanded completely. So I feel like that's amazing, you know. And he that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. To him that overcometh will I give to eat the tree of life. You know what I'm saying? To him that overcometh. So you have to overcome the ego, you know. You have to be able to overcome the klipothic energy, which we tap into all the time. And that's just a simple, you know, having a negative thought, you doing something out of anger, and it's not righteous anger. It's completely based off of your emotion and your opinion, but not truth. And all of that is ego, just basing things on the intellect, which I'll get to in a second. Intelligence is good, but if that's the only thing it gets to, and it ends at that, Mr. I know it all, every time somebody tells you something, it's I know, you feel me, like that's an ego, and we don't know everything, like I don't know everything, and I'm humbled enough right now to be a divine conduit to express this energy to you, and to express what it means to embrace this, because the mother goddess, the divine energies have gotten me up to this point, and I have to express it to you from my own experience, and I really believe that this is the truth, and we need to embrace the whole alchemical aspect of everything, what I'm saying? And the tree of life, the chakra system, the meridians, that's a beautiful way to embrace it, because we're not only looking at it with one mask, one face, what I'm saying? We're taking it off, not one mask, so we're taking the mask off and seeing it with one face, and for what it is, the network of understanding what happens on an alchemical level, and how to embody the energies beyond us, because we are already embodying the negative klipothic energy based upon what we've been taught, how we've been living, the things that are dwelling within the subconscious mind, how we view the mind, the ego, the importance of the mind over the physical, or physical over the mind, etc. We have to take into consideration all of it, because if it manifests physically, that means energetically it's already happened at a subtle level that you couldn't sense. So by doing these practices and understanding the transmutation of sexual energy, by meditating, opening up the neural pathways in the nervous system, you're getting more sensitive to the subtle energies on a physical level. So now you can actually feel what's going on within you and without, and that's what we need to tap into. So we're going to keep going. So in the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, was there the tree of life, which bare the 12 manner fruits. Blessed are they who do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. The city, the heavens. So this relates directly to the chrism, talking about blessed are they that do his commandments. So, I'm going to break down the commandments too. A lot of, I see is viewed as a type of limitation upon the world and what's going on. But no, it's not. We have to remember that everything that we do energetically happens and manifests in every spectrum of the being. And then people will feel and see that as well. So, if you want to tap into the divine, the commandments and the different disciplines and esoteric exercises for tapping into yourself, going within, tapping into the soul, the source, the inner Atman, the essence, which is bottled up in the ego. We have to understand that these are not limitations and sacrifices if you really view it as these are gifts. These are, if you resonate with these energies, what it's finna do is it's gonna put you on to a different frequency, so you can resonate and rise through the tree of life. And that so blessed are they that do his commandments, and they may have the right to the tree of life, and may enter through the gates into the cities of heaven. Revelation 22:14. So man, that's powerful one time, you know what I'm saying? And so look, gonna give the basics one time. So the tree of life on the body, the 10 Sephiroth are within each one of us. They subexist in all organic and inorganic matter. Every human being has them, but needs to incarnate them. When they are already self-realized, the Sephiroth sparkle like precious gems within Atman, the soul. The Sephiroth form regions where the archangels, angels, cherubim, potencies, etc. live. The Sephiroth have their points of relation within the physical body. Location of the Sephiroth within the physical body. Kether, the crown in the superior part of the mind, the head. Chakma, the right side of the brain. Binah, the left side of the brain. Chesed, in the right arm. Gabura, in the left arm. Tipuret, in the heart. Nitzak, in the right leg. Had, in the left leg. Yasad, in the sexual organs. And Malkuth, in the feet. These are the points of contact of the Sephiroth within the human body. The Sephiroth are atomic. They are not atoms of carbon, oxygen, and nitrogen. They are atoms of a spiritual nature that belong to occult, esoteric, and spiritual chemistry. So we have right here the Assyrian tree of life. We have the Buddhist tree of life. It is well known that the Buddha Shakyamuni was born under a sacred tree and achieved enlightenment under a sacred tree. Yet it is not well known that the Bodhi tree, the tree of wisdom, is a ficus tree, a fig tree. In the Bible, the fig tree is very important. Do not Adam and Eve cover their sexual organs with a fig leaf. So there you have it. Showing what it means to transmutate the sexual energy and not give in to the carnal desires of the ego. You know what I'm saying? The delusion of the ego, the lust, the pride, the envy, that all manifests with the imbalances of these spheres. And then once we get into the imbalance and then we identify, the ego identifies. Once we identify with that, then we slip into the Qlipoth and the energy goes downward, whether we think we're being virtuous or not. So it takes a great level of honesty with oneself. It takes a great level of understanding how to use the scalpel of self-criticism and psychoanalysis, like Freud put it, and to cut out the ego and free the soul, the essence that is bottled up by the ego, bro. So all throughout the Christian tree of life, look at this. You know what I'm saying? Showing you the Egyptian tree of life. Saith Osiris Ani, hail sycamore tree of the goddess Nut, the divine mother. Grant thou to me of the water, and me of the water and the air which are in thee. I embrace thy throne which is in Unu, and I watch and guard the egg of the great crackler, the cosmic womb. It groweth, I grow. It liveth, I live. It sniffeth the air, I sniff the air. I, the Osiris Ani, in triumph in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. The Greek tree of life, showing the serpent again. The serpent should not be demonized unless it is going downward, because the Kundalini organ is meant to rise and meet the heavens upon the Sushumna canal, and by making the energies upon the Sushumna, which is Ida and Pingala, yin and yang, masculine and feminine, unite with the heavens one more time. The Olmec tree of life, the Mayan tree of life, the Nordic tree of life, which shows the realms and ascension. So we have right here the tree of life and the Qlipoth, so we have to overcome the ego. The Tibetan tree of life. In Lhasa, Tibet, in the temple of the Dalai Lamas, one can see the striking painting of the great master Nagarjuna drinking ambrosia from the tree of life. The ambrosia, the sacred secretion and the sexual energy meeting. You know what I'm saying? Compare this to the Egyptians' paintings above. The Kala Chakra. The Sanskrit word Kala Chakra is derived from Kala, time, and Chakra, wheel. Thus the meaning is the wheel of time. The study of the Kala Chakra is present in all the Tibetan Buddhist traditions and is focused on the laws and structures that manage existence, the body, and liberation. So we can trace this all through time and see how, we can see the map of the earth one time too, and how it relates to the 7 dimensions within. You know what I'm saying? And the 7 dimensions without, so and then beyond, you know what I'm saying, to the heavens. It's a beautiful thing. You can trace this through time and really do your syncretic research, because if you pay attention to the different similarities and take the mask off, the face is always the same. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta experience this for ourselves inwardly. You You know, we have to do the meditations, the pranayama. We gotta be doing the yoga, you know, the tai chi, the qigong, whatever is uniting the physical with the spirit and the mind and beyond, because it all translates. That's why it's very important to take care of the body, to take care of the mind, take care of the essence, take care of everything on a balanced spectrum. And in one of my last videos, I gave you the alchemical diet of the Kundalini, which addresses Ayurveda and Astrotheology in a syncretic manner, in perfect synergy. Because if we take into account how they manifest as imbalances in our elemental structure for the individual, not just the human being, we can then take into account how to address our different aspects of the ego and how to balance them out. And then on top of that, it also relates astrologically. The different doshas, the different elemental compositions are actually governed by planets and astrologically. So if you look at the astrological wheel and understand why we came to this earth, why we've embodied this, you know, for example, me Scorpio, or for that person Gemini, or another person Sagittarius or Capricorn, whichever one that you embody, you also embody the negative traits of that. And in order to meet the sun, we have, which is our solar sign, we have to overcome the lunar, the dark self behind that solar sign, the psyche. You know what I'm saying? So that is a must. We have to do that. And it all goes back to eliminating the ego over time. And so let's look at what Kabbalah is as well. Like the stuff, what is it behind it? So the Kabbalah, we have to understand, my dear brothers and sisters, that beyond all of this universal scenario, behind this whole series of worlds that we have roughly described, is the incognizable deity before whom all humans and gods prostrate themselves with great humility. If we ask any adept of the white universal fraternity something about himself, he would say, I am only on the shores of a vast and great sea. The Hebrew Kabbalah speaks of Sephirotic emanations, but from where do these emanations emerge? What are these emanations? I have spoken roughly about worlds or regions. Only this way knowledge is most understandable, more concrete, more perfect. So from where did these worlds arise, which are nothing but the same Sephiroth? How did they come into existence? They emanated from the absolute. From the absolute emanate what? The Sephiroth, which are what we have talked about when citing the various universal regions. So they are the same Sephiroth. This means that the suprasensible worlds and the Sephiroth are the same, within and without, which we have to experience in the physical and the astral. You know what I'm saying? So look, we can see how the different realms of creation, which we have Asaya, the world of action, which is governed by Malkuth, the world, you know, our worldly desires, you know, to be able to work beyond us, you know, the world of action. And then we have the world of formation, which starts in the sexual energy in the hips, you know. So this is governed by the sexual energy and the energies of formation, creation. And in order to ascend through the realms, we have to understand what these are doing internally. You know, and the world of creation starts with the heart. You know what I'm saying? Oh, so, you know, formation. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, we see how the form meets creation. Excuse what I said earlier. The formation meets creation in unity, because the Kundalini energy rises on a network of nerves and neurons and hormones, and also through the merits of the heart. So through Qlipoth, which is the heart energy, the heart chakra, we have to understand how to embody the virtues and go through and eliminate the ego to rise through on the merits of the heart, the Kundalini energy, from formation to the world of creation, to the world of the archetypes, the gods, the heavens, you know. And this is not meant to overcome God, you know. This is not to to overcome the source, you know, the Ansaf or the divine, the absolute. You know, we have to understand that this is to reunite with it. This is to bring our souls back to it, because we all came from a source. You know, we understand astrology, the planetary realms, you know, and how in order to, and it, you know, how to go into the astral plane, and we have to understand how to you know, this is a whole nother practice in itself, but we can talk about this later. But the realms of the planets and how they govern the astrological signs, how they govern our alchemical makeup, how that governs our dosha, how the dosha govern our elemental aspects, how the elemental aspects govern the balance of walking through the tree of life, or the imbalance of going through the ego, identifying with it and falling into the Qlipoth, which is the dark energy, which is what when people talk about Kabbalah, it is very watered down in a way that it's demonized and looked at. It's dark magic and only practiced by the Templars and only practiced by the the elite, etc. But that is not the case. They understood the dynamics of the universe and how to tap into that energy. Because once we open up our energy centers to these realms of the Sephiroth, we can do different things, and they're governed by different. If you look into angel magic and how to actually communicate with the different realms of creation, you can actually find how to tap into these sources and their different energetic fields that can make things happen on a physical, mental, spiritual, tangible level, and emotionally, mentally, everything, you know, and it governs these energies, spoke into existence, the voice of God, the voice of the army of the voice of that emanates from the source, the absolute, which is Cather. So we're just on a journey to rise back up to that, and yeah, man, you know, so I'm gonna keep it pushing. So what is Cather? So we have been told that the first Sephiroth that emanates is Cather, the Ancient of Days. But we must understand what the elder is, what that great face is. The Hebrew Kabbalah tells us that it is hidden. It is the hidden of the hidden, the mercy of the mercies, and the goodness of goodness. Unquestionably, Jesus specified it with a phrase that is Abba, Father. Certainly, Cather is our Father who is in secret, and there are as many fathers in heaven as many people on earth, said the great teacher Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. And so it is. Each one of us has a father who is in secret, a father who is in the heavens. Cather, the old one of all ages, the Ancient of Days, the great face. In him are contained all the other Sephiroth, and they emanate from the source. In the dawn of life, only the Elder of Days exists. But from him emanates everything else. From him emanate all the other Sephiroth, worlds of regions, as we have already stated, that come to manifestation. Chakma, from Cather emanates in a second place. Chakma, the Christ. But let us not think of Christ as a subject who lived exclusively in the Holy Land. No, Christ is something greater. Christ is a universal and eternal principle that is beyond the I, the ego, beyond the personality, far beyond individuality. So the first thing that comes to manifestation, the first thing that comes into existence, we have already said, is the Elder of Days. Cather unfolds himself in Christ, but Christ is not an individual. No, it is a universal principle, yes, and a principle that manifests itself in every human who is properly prepared. But it is necessary for you to know how to understand. We are not trying to undervalue the great master Yeshua ben Pander, who is Jesus of Nazareth. No. We already know that this great master is perfect, who was educated, as everyone knows, in Egypt. It is also true that he was initiated into the mysteries of Chaldea, Persia, Greece, and that the best of his esoteric principles were acquired in Tibet, where is still a monastery where he is worshipped, all that we know. When he came to the Holy Land, he was already properly prepared. Nonetheless, the cosmic Christ expressed itself not only through Jesus, but the cosmic Christ also expressed vividly itself in John the Baptist, which baptized him in the river of the Jordan. So a Christ initiating another to be a Christ, following in his example and understanding how to apply the methods. By doing all of these different practices and taking the mask off, going to different lands and acquiring all this information and experience. He went there and did it. He didn't just read a book about it. He didn't just theorize. And he had the sacred secretion happen in the Kundalini rise. This is why it was stated that John was a Christus. No one is unaware that there were disputes among the Gnostics of the Holy Land. Some claim that the Jesus of Nazareth had been only one of those who had resolved to follow John, and that the true anointed one, the sacred secretion, the chrism, the Christ, the reality is that both John and Jesus had the Christ incarnated. Long ago, it was Hermes Trismegistus, thrice born. So we have the 3 days of the resurrection, the thrice born, and he illuminated himself with the chrism and reached the crown, Cather, Chakma, and Binah, Hermes Trismegistus, the 3 times great god of Ibis of Thoth, who incarnated the Christ. In India, Krishna was the living manifestation of the cosmic Christos. Among the Incas of Peru, Manco Capac was the incarnated cosmic Christ. Here in Mexico, we had Quetzalcoatl, the living Christ manifested in a human being. These are all people who successfully rose the Kundalini energy, traveled through the chakra realms, traveled through the tree of life, and rose the energy back up to meet the heavens of Cather, Chakma, and Binah, the crown, you know what I'm saying? And thus the Lord Christ manifests itself wherever there is a properly prepared human. The Christ is a universal principle. It is the Vishnu of that sacred land of Hindustan, Osiris of the Egyptians, the sun god of the ancient peoples, the Ahura Mazda of Zarathustra, etc. The region of Christ is unity. It is the region of Chakma. In that region we are all one. In Christ, diversity is unity. When I wanted to study John, I experienced an extraordinary surprise. When I wanted to study the cosmic Christ, I was also stunned by what I learned. At this moment come to me these unusual memories. One day when I was deep in meditation, I entered into the state that we would call Nirvikalpa Samadhi. That's super consciousness in a Sanskrit. Then I abandoned all vehicles and entered into the world of the Christos Vishnu, beyond individuality, personality, and the I, the ego. I tried to investigate the life of Jesus, the moment of his baptism, and something strange happened to me. You know what I'm saying? To me, who am I say, a creature as imperfect as any other? The fact is unheard of, by the way, that I saw myself becoming Jesus and doing miracles and wonders. He right here, he's not saying that, he's all of a sudden the Christ, but he's talking about tapping into the network of nature, the Akashic record, which is the memory of Mother Nature, that we all have access to if we can tap in and open up different energy centers. That's why we also talk about the different realms of the tree of life and how they translate inwardly and beyond. So if you'd like to travel into the realms of creation and to be able to do that, you have to become more conscious, eliminate the ego, and to be able to go inwardly enough to reach that realm, So I'm going to go ahead and get into the next one so we understand that Chakma is the Christ. So Binah, the third emanation is Binah, the Holy Spirit. Some Kabbalists claim that Chakma is male and Binah is female. That statement is a bit misleading because Binah certainly can be polarized in male or female form. In the region of Binah, we find then the third logos, the particular Shiva of any one of us, Om Namah Shivaya, our true real being. This is why it has always been stated that and said that Shiva is the first begotten of creation. And it is stated that the first realm of initiation is reuniting with Shiva yourself and to beyond. Binah unfolds as the Binah mother, as the divine mother Kundalini, and the Kundalini Shakti and Shiva are in Mother Durga, which is the mother Kundalini energy manifested as a goddess, and like all the different forms of her, and we look at Nut, which is the mother goddess in Egypt. All of this shows that the Divine Mother is directly bonded to Lord Shiva. You know, always has a counterpart, a male counterpart. And this is a beautiful thing, you know, because this shows the unification and the transmutation of the sexual energies of the male and the female, which needs to unite in order to rise, you know what I'm saying, alchemically. And this is what makes many Kabbalists think that Binah is female, but no, it is male and female. In its masculine form, Binah is Shiva, and in its feminine form, Binah is Durga or Kali, the Shakti potential of the universe. And each one of us has a particular Shiva and Shakti, or special individual Divine Mother, you know, and you know, with my experience, I was doing a deep meditation while chanting the Durga mantra, and that is my personal form of the Divine Mother, Durga and Kali, and I had an experience where she came out the void, you know, during a deep meditation. And this is now I'm giving you an experience of what happened and how I met my Divine Mother. And you know, what happens is the form becomes tangible to you, and it is shown to you that the Divine Mother Kundalini is watching and is guiding you on your path. And you have to be able to get into that state of meditation, though, and to be able to open up the different energies. And this had been going on, me doing yoga every day for about a year, and me doing pranayama for 6 months, and by doing transmutation of the energy. And so at this point in time, I was able to tap in and go deep enough to where this experience was tangible through a vision. The pituitary and the pineal gland were secreting the DMT and the melatonin and serotonin enough for a vision to occur during meditation, which the only time those are secreted is during sleep, relaxation, or meditation. And for real, this is what happens. This is why people have divine spiritual experiences, etc. Because it's a tangible thing that's really going on within. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so she came to me, and it looked like it was just like she had her sash on, you know, or her robe, you know, and she was reaching out to me and touched my cheek as a sign of guidance, you know, and of upliftment to show that you must rise to the heavens. And at that point on, I just felt this like guidance of energy, because once she appears to you, she disappears and becomes what she really is. You know, the cosmic egg, the cosmic womb. You know, the nurturing energy, because now you know that she is there, and it's a knowing for every experience. You know, that's never gonna leave me. You know what I'm saying? Understanding the Father, wisdom, you know what I'm saying? That in the Christ, you know, the Son and the Holy Spirit, man, like all of those things are things happening within us, and we can all tap into. Thus, brothers and sisters, the three superior Sephiroth of the very beloved Father, the very beloved Son, and the very strong, very wise Holy Spirit, which manifests as Shiva and Shakti, you know, which is either male and feminine. So it has to rise upon the network of the sexual energy, you know, from the spermatic channels, which is what sprouts the Ida and Pingala along the Sushumna canal. So it all leads back to the source of transmutating the creative energy. Obviously, these three superior regions constitute the Kabbalistic Atziluth, the world of the splendors where happiness is extraordinary, beyond good and evil. Chesed, from that Sephirotic crown manifests, becomes in its turn Chesed, which is Atman, the innermost, the region of Atman, the ineffable. In that region, there is an incalculable joy. Atman is the innermost in us. The ancient testament of learning said, before the false dawn came over the earth, those who survived the hurricane and the storm gave praise to the innermost, the soul, Atman, the heavens, God within and beyond, and to them appeared the heralds of the dawn. The innermost is almighty, and Chesed, the world of Atman, knows the stark reality of the world. Here in this physical world, Malkuth, we see, for example, that altar on which those books are placed. In Yesod, the ethereal world, where we can find the counterpart of that altar. In Had, the astral world, where we will see that altar. Even there it glows a little more, but there it is. In Netzach, the mental world, we can even know the content of these books. In Tiporeth, the causal, we go further. We can know the psychic part of those books. In Gebura, the Buddhist or intuitional world, we see the altar in the books. And yes, instantly by intuition, we know its deep significance. Yet in Chesed, the world of Atman, all is reduced to numbers, to mathematics. There we know how many atoms that altar has. There we will know the atoms of wisdom that typify each of the words that are written in those books. And finally, everything in Chesed is reduced to numbers. Therefore, the world of Atman is a world of stark reality. When one has not entered the world of Atman and all of a sudden one experiences it for the very first time, one then feels as if entering into a very strange, vague, divine world. Something one cannot describe. Something like, I do not know what indeed happens the first time one consciously enters into that region, is that one is overwhelmed because one finds a world of the most shocking reality. So we have to rise through the different realms in order to experience what it means to be a human being. And so here we go, Gebura. A sunderable major part of Atman is found in the Buddhic or intuitional world. For us males, it is a great joy to find that. For example, our Valkyrie, the Shulamite of Solomon, the feminine divine soul, the beautiful Helen of Troy. Likewise, it is a great joy for females to find their most beloved, their Solomon, their eternal bridegroom. So it is in the Buddhic or intuitional world where we find our true consort, and you resonate with the twin flame, and that is the region of extraordinary splendors, and it is very vital, to understand the perfect matrimony, and to understand the bonding of the twin flames, and how they rise, and in order to completely rise the Kundalini energy, you have to understand the bond between the twin flames, and how the energies of masculine and feminine transmute the energies of creation from prana to Christic energy. To prana to solar energy in the heart, to Christic energy in the heavens, the mind, and the crown. The Kabbalists say that Gebura, severity and power in Hebrew, is severity, and that severity is governed by Mars, the planet, while the planet Jupiter, the father of the gods, has always been associated with Atman, Chesed. This is what the intellectual Kabbalists state, but I know that Atman is governed by the warrior Mars, because Atman has to fight for his liberation. As far as Buddhi, Gebura, is concerned, then we have always wanted to associate it with Mars. A certain Kabbalist, whose name I do not mention, complained about Gebura, that when she tried to concentrate and meditate on Gebura, Mars, she did not succeed. She triumphed when trying to concentrate on Yesod, but not on Gebura, Mars. See, this person is trying to experience and meditate on these places and consciously integrate that and put that into the subconscious mind to take for the Atman, the soul, the essence, to take her there, and that's what needs to happen. That's what we need to do to understand this. Indeed, how could she have triumphed? Impossible, right? Do you not see that she concentrated on Mars, Gebura, and that is absurd, because the region of Gebura is the Buddhic or intuitional world, to approach the different realms. So she did not understand intuition, so she couldn't tap in to Gebura. You know what I'm saying? Where we males have our Valkyrie and females have the beloved one. Thus, Gebura is not ruled by Mars, but by the sun. So in order to manifest the twin flame, we get to this realm and region, so what happens physically, internally, actually happens and echoes into the reality around us energetically and physically, brings us that partner that embodies our the other half, and the flame that burns the same. You know what I'm saying? So when Kabbalists have not directly experienced the Sephiroth, then these Kabbalists rely on purely intellectual matters and fail. The cold scheme is not enough. Direct, cognizant experimentation is needed. I'm talking to you based on my experience. In the Sephiroth Gebura, Although it is true that the lion of the law exists, it is no less true that we find mercy, love, with just reason. Solomon sang in the Song of Songs to his beautiful Shulamite. It is the Buddhic or intuitional word where we truly feel the unity of life, where we experience communion, we might say, with the whole solar system of Ors. Qlipoth. By continuing with the sequence, Sunderance Gabora turns asunder into Qlipoth. Qlipoth is nothing else but the causal world, a world where everything flows and reflows, ascends and descends, grows and decreases. In this region there is a systole and a diastole, the systole and the universal diastole, and all the systoles and diastoles of this great universe. In the causal world, the principalities work intensely. There we see the archons of the law. It is a world, I repeat, where the causes and effects are joined within an eternal now, within an eternal presence. So everything we do is based on the moment. We have to tap into that energy of the moment. It has been said quite clearly that the human soul, Qlipoth, is completely Christic. So to free the essence, to free the soul, and to eliminate the ego, the doctrine of the eyes, we free the soul, man. We free the essence bottled up by the ego in Qlipoth, which becomes Christic, and we initiate into the realms, into the higher realms, which causes the sacred secretion and the Kundalini energy to rise, and we embody the Christ energy, the Christic energy. Remember we talked about, the transmutation of base sexual energy into prana, then it enters the region of the heart, which it turns into solar energy, which it reaches the energy of the mind, which frees the soul completely. You know what I'm saying? And that becomes Christic energy, the transmutation of sexual energy, of creation, the true meaning of alchemy, transmutating the lead of the personality into the gold of the spirit. Where we come to eliminate even the last elements of the I. That is right, because where we finish the very causes of the ego, of the myself, of the self-willed, where else could we end up with those causes that originated the different I's that we have inside? Obviously in the world of natural causes in Qlipoth, the human soul there in those regions loves and is loved, and human soul has to marry its consort in the Buddhic or intuitional world. The Qlipoth is, we might say, the savior. If we apprehend the superior Sephirothic triad, the great crown of Cather, Chakma, and Binah, we have in synthesis the unique, indivisible, integral Father. The second triangle is the triangle of Atman Buddhi Manas, or to speak in a more Kabbalistic manner, Chesed, Gabora, and Qlipoth, who becomes the Son within us. This is why when Philip asked Jesus, "Show us the Father," then the great master replied, "Who hath seen me? The Son hath seen the Father," which is the soul, the essence. So that directly translates to the raising of the Kundalini energy and the elimination of the ego according to the merits of the heart, and expanding our fields of energy so it can rise further on the network of neurons, nerves, and hormones, you know what I'm saying? And when I was working intensively in the world of Qlipoth, and once I completed a special esoteric work, Chakma entered into me, and as a human soul I felt transformed. Who would not feel transformed when the Christos enters into us? But it is intriguing that precisely in Qlipoth, in the world of the Savior, was where I could evidence that reality. Netzach. There is about everything within the universal mind, because although it is true that in the lower mind we see the counterpart or the mental form, we might say, of all of this sinful and perverse civilization, it is no less true that in the upper part of the mental world, the Devachan of Asian theosophy, we find the pure mind. Yet one has to do a great work in the depths of Netzach, work within the internal realms, and understand how the energy works. In the world of the mind, we must remove our mind every unworthy particle, every inhuman element, every perversity of the carnal nature of the ego, a carnal passion, the nature of the ego. With good reason, Hela Petrovna Blavatsky, in her great work titled The Voice of Silence, claims, "Thou hast to reach that fixity of mind in which no breeze, however strong, can waft an earthly thought within. Thus purified, the shrine must of all action, sound, or earthly light be void, as the butterfly, o'ertaken by the frost, falls lifeless at the threshold, so must all earthly thoughts fall dead before the famed temple. So the threshold, the guardian of the threshold is Satan, the ego. So we fall lifeless at the threshold. It no longer concerns us to be given into the simple carnal passions of the ego. And so must all earthly thoughts, carnal passions, fall dead before the famed temple, the temple, which is the mind, the crown, which houses the Christ. You know what I'm saying? So we got to do it here. The golden flame can burn with steady light. The flame, the furnace, burning. Which is directly talking about the pineal, the pituitary, and the thalamus, which is also Cather, Chakma, and Binah. The lamp must stand well guarded in a spot free from all wind. Therefore you will be able to comprehend how could the fire of the spirit shine within us if the mind is filled with cosmic dust. Therefore, it is urgent and imperative to purify the mind. Man. In the world of Nitzak, we understand how we have to work in order to truly reach enlightenment. And every level of every vertebrae that the Kundalini organ rises upward, we face austerities and true trials within the physical world so we can overcome and move through the different realms of creation and reach the heavens, because it rises on the merits of the heart. And the ego that bottles up the essence needs to be freed from that. So, it shows, man, it directly relates to the different realms and the energy of network, because alchemically this is all happening within and without, as above, so below. On the secret path, the one who has worked in august mysteries that lie hidden in the ark of all ages is warned hundreds of times by the side of the road. So far you have arrived here well, but now that you are going to work with the mind, remember that all those who have tried it have failed. Rare are those who have not failed, because the mind is really perverse and dangerous. So as much as we want to deny the ego, that is an ego in itself. You know what I'm saying? You are listening to me in this room. You have come to listen to me, and I am here to tell you great truths. But this is a serious thing. Are you sure that tomorrow you will be here with us? You yourselves have witnessed that many who come before now no longer come. And then it says that for one to follow this path, this great man who sacrificed years and years, went to many countries and spoke the message of truth, about the secret hidden path, the first one to voice it on all levels. He was scared for countries of people, bruh. And he said that he can only count with one hand the people who stayed committed to this. So the levels of discipline and the levels of killing the ego and going in and working with the mind can really be an illusion to yourself if the ego is too strong, or it can really be the greatest journey of expanding your energy into creation. And that's what it takes, is to eliminate that want, the carnal passion, because it's beyond us. It's selfish to want to give in to the carnal nature. It's selfish to not want to sacrifice ourselves. It's selfish because it's not about us. If we don't resonate the highest energy and show our soul to people, how is that not gonna, or how is that gonna help people? You know what I'm saying? Like, how is our soul being bottled up by the ego and the carnal passions gonna help and give somebody real healing? How are we gonna be healed if we don't do this? So this is what it comes down to. It's not about us, because if we heal ourselves, we can translate the energy of the Cather, Chakma, and Binah and all the different realms in a way that people can see it completely, and we can now speak from a place of experience, and this is what we need to do, and it all has to come, it all comes down to it. Some even plead for entrance to the third chamber, and entrance was given to them. Then later they do not return anymore, because such is the mind. Now you will explain to yourselves why the final liberation is truly difficult. You will also be able to understand at this moment the reason why the world of Netzach is called victory, because you overcome the ego, the region of victory, because indeed if we success in conquering the mind, we have triumphed. Whosoever achieves liberation from the mind is a victorious one, a Buddha. Okay, so Had. Netzach turns asunder into the world of Had in the Kabbalists, the astral world. Obviously, the lower region of Had is the lower Kamaloka of which Hindus speak. In the upper region, we find many Mahatmas, many splendorous and happy angels. In the lower section, we can find all the witches' Sabbaths of the Middle Ages, all the temples of black magic, the grieving souls, the suffering creatures, all those who moan and cry, and also of the perverse ones. Yasad, a further part asunder and shows us Yasad, the ethereal world, where the deposit of the universal sexual forces of creation are found. This cubic stone of Yasad is sex. Unquestionably, the region of Yasad is, as we have already stated, the ethereal world. The Netzach, Had, and Yasad constitute the triangle of magic, of priesthood, of initiation into the higher degrees of energy expansion and growth. So, and we're going to talk about how it goes downward into the klipothic energy, the tree of death. We are here in the physical world, Malkuth, in this fallen Sephiroth, in Malkuth. Here is where we are studying, preparing, working. But Malkuth is not just the physical world. Remember that in the interior of the earth, in the infra dimensions, are the Qlipoth, and these are from Malkuth. Qlipoth. There are 9 inferior dimensions of the ego and demonic energy, wisely symbolized by Dante in his Divine Comedy, Dante's Inferno. In those 9 infra dimensions, human beings devolve. Because of their exaggerated perversity, many enter into the kingdom of Qlipoth before they have completed their cycle of physical manifestations. But there are others who enter the kingdom of Qlipoth because their manifestation time has expired. You know, we have to take the moment serious. We have to take the moment serious, bro. We can't play the game. You know what I'm saying? Because it really comes down to it. You know what I'm saying? And so look, we're going to show how the astrological sign not only governs our true soul's expression through the sun, but also its lunar influence in the psyche, right? And look at this, man. You know what I'm saying? It's all governed by different planets as well. You know what I'm saying? All governed by different planets. Astrologically, if you're born into a certain sign, that can give you a concrete way to understand your imbalance by in turn looking at the doshas associated with the astrological signs and the 12 missing salts, you know, and how they're all related and corresponding to the planets which play out our energetic field. So then the imbalance will manifest as different aspects of the ego, you know what I'm saying? Lust, envy, pride, greed, etc. And we have been told that each of us is assigned 108 existences. Thus, if within them we have not reached realization, once the cycle of manifestations is performed or fulfilled, we descend into the world of the Qlipoth, even if we are not even evil or perverse. I know someone there, whose name I will not mention, who still lives on the face of this earth, whose eyes still perceive the soft light of the day. He is a good son and he studies medicine. His parents love him. Recently, he had a traffic accident. He was hit by a car, and it was then that it occurred to me to investigate him in the regions of the invisible world. Certainly, I found him, and in the name of the truth, I say, you know, he's talking about literally doing the meditations, the exercises to expand and go into these realms of creation, which we have access to if we're able to overcome the egoic defects. Certainly I found him in the name of the truth, I say, not in the upper zones of the three-dimensional world, no, but in the world of the Qlipoth, in its first sphere that we might call sublunar, in the first Dantesque circle. How could this be? Some might ask, if he still lives. Indeed, it is true, but he exhausted his 108 existences, And although he is a good son, a good citizen, his cycle of manifestations has concluded, and since he did not do anything for his self-realization in any of his past lives, the wheel rotated, the wheel of samsara, and now he devolves within the submerged mineral kingdom. So we have the wheel of samsara, the wheel of astrology, and we rotate among the wheel during our different lifetimes to embody different parts of the ego to help the sign of our soul expand and shine outward. And it is stated as well that once we eliminate the ego, we become the most powerful sign that our soul can be, and only the positive aspects of the soul and the Christ. So look, in all of these realms, we're gonna look right here. In all of these different realms, bro. We have the klipothic energy on the other side, which also resonates with different energy that you can see, is governed by different demonic beings, you know what I'm saying? And gods of the inferno. And this is what it means to tap into Kabbalah when you're looking at it by the higher ups and the esoteric ones that are trying to keep the truth in secret and give us the false energies. You know what I'm saying? So look, you can see the opposite end of the spectrum, the flipping of the cross, you know what I'm saying? Which is the hanged man, the illumination in darkness, because darkness can illuminate and light can illuminate as well. So when they talk about Satan or the illuminated one, it's the ruler of the klipothic energy, that governs the Qlipoth, and that's where the ego comes from. You know what I'm saying? So we have to remember this, that the tree of life is the upward rising of the energies of the Kundalini organ. In the Kundabuffer organ, which is the opposite end, Kundalini means the ending of the Kundabuffer. This is what's happening. And this is how they're gaining their power, because they're resonating on this field of energy, the klipothic energy, the tree of death, and they understand our right and our will to ascend, and they understand how to control that energy, because when you tap into either one of these, the more you resonate with the ego, the more negative things you do, the more you have your carnal passions, the more that you resonate with these energies down here, and that gives them more power. That gives them all more power. You know what I'm saying? Because you power up this energy field, and there's a concept that all ideas are not generated originally, but they not saying that you take somebody else's ideas, but you actually tap into the source of creation and you pull an aspect of the voice of God, and then you manifest that in the realm. You know what I'm saying? And so in order to tap in and do all of that, like everything that we do is either going to feed into the klipothic tree of death, the energy that all of these higher ups are dealing with in Kabbalism. When we talk of the dark aspect of Kabbalah, we rise through the tree of life, which is the divine aspect of it, which is the chakra system, which is the tattvas, which is the meridians, which is the Taoist level, level of alchemy in the body, or Taoist network of alchemy. This is what's happening. The Kundalini energy is rising either upward to the tree of life, which we have to eliminate the ego, or we give in to the carnal passions, which we've been taught to do, and then we go down into the tree of life and we feed the higher ups more and more and more every time that we do this. So in order to completely resonate with the higher energies and not give in to these, we have to do the necessary exercises, practices, and give ourselves to the experiences of overcoming our ego, overcoming the darkness that's influenced by the planets in a way that we can have their true essence shine, because we're all emanations that rise through the different kingdoms of the mineral to the animal to the intellectual animal, and finally to becoming a Christ and reuniting with God, and that's the cycle of the soul. And we all come and emanate from a certain planetary region that is governed by that God. So with aspects of that angelic creator, and which all come and stem from the Ansaf Or, Cather, which is the source, and the void, you know what I'm saying? So it all correlates to each other. The sacred secretion, the chrism, the Kundalini energy, how it works with the doshas and the astrological signs, they all correspond syncretically. And then if you look at the negative manifestations, it all corresponds syncretically by doing the opposite, and how it manifests. And you can see that within one person's life. We have to enter the different realms and activate the different levels of the mind and the psyche, you know what I'm saying, and have the sun truly shine within us and unbottle the ego unbottle the essence from the ego. So we're going to talk about what is the Kundalini or the Kundabuffer Organ. We don't really talk about that. We talk about the Kundalini energy, what it does, etc. But we should also talk about its negative manifestations and how even the virtuous believe that their Kundabuffer is a Kundalini organ. So we have to understand duality and how it's inseparable, but at the same time it is, you feel me? So we have to peep game, we have to understand. So the Kundabuffer Organ, many millions of years have passed since the terrifying night of the past, in which we began slowly devolving and evolving. Yet the human being still does not know who he is or where he comes from, nor where he is going. A lethargy of many centuries weighs over the ancient mysteries, yet the verb still awaits at the bottom of the ark for this instant of its realization. Behind the Edenic tradition, there is a terrible cosmic desideratum and sacred errors that frighten and horrify. The gods also make mistakes. That's where we have the fallen angels, because they fell into the realm of fornication and expelled their sexual energy. And we have the story of Adam and Eve, the divine man, the divine masculine and the divine feminine. They fell and they ate of the fruit, which is fornication, and they expelled the sexual energy, which was not transmutated upwards into Christic solar energy. So they resonated with the klipothic energy, so that was the fall. That was when we fell. And so thus today at all times we are confronting our own destiny. We face the psychological dilemma of to be or not to be. Much has been said that the sacred serpent, the Kundalini, yet now we are going to speak clearly about the Kundabuffer Organ. All of the efforts made by the prophets, avatars, and gods in order to end the harmful consequences of the Kundabuffer Organ have been in vain. It is necessary to know that the Kundabuffer Organ is the negative development of the fire. This is the descending serpent, which precipitates itself in the coccyx, which where the Kundalini rests coiled 3 times, can go either upward in the tree of life or downward and express itself demonically, negatively, but into the infernal gods. This is it can manifest in 2 ways, and we have to understand the 2 aspects of it, because in order to understand the ego, the Kundalini energy itself, we have to look at all the aspects alchemical. It is necessary to know that the Kundabuffer Organ is the negative development of the fire. This is the descending serpent which precipitates itself in the cosmic downwards towards the atomic infernos of the human being. The Kundabuffer Organ is the horrifying tale of Satan, which is shown in the body of desires of the intellectual animal, who in the present times is falsely called man. What is worse, which hurts the soul the most, is to know that the ones who gave the Kundabuffer Organ to this humanity were some sacred individuals. Ancient traditions state that during the Lemurian epoch, certain sacred individuals came to the earth in a cosmic astro ship. These individuals were forming a very high sacred commission, which was entrusted with studying the evolving and evolving problems of the earth and its humanity. The Archangel Sakaki and the principal archphysicist and the universal common chemist Angel Luisos were the 2 main individuals from this holy divine commission. This sacred commission of ineffable beings is behind the whole drama of Eden. They came with bodies of flesh and bones. Their ship landed on Lemuria. During that ancient age, the human instinct was starting to develop itself into objective reasoning. This very high commission could verify to Sexuality that the Edenic human being already started to suspect the reason for his creation. The Lemurian root race had started to guess the true motives of its own existence and miserable existence with mechanical motives. Each human being is a little machine who captures and transforms cosmic energies. Then he unconsciously adapts these energies into the inferior layers of Earth. Thus, we are human machines, nothing else. What would this world be without the human machine, the most complex machine on the planet? You know what I'm saying? So we got to understand the mechanics behind the machine. We have to understand what's going on at an alchemical level. What can happen if we don't do the things necessary so we understand what to do to expand ourselves, and to reunite with our soul. Without this seal, without this physiognomy, which is supplied by this humanity, the planet would be without a purpose. Thus, everything which is without purpose ceases to exist. Humanity as a whole is an organ from nature. This organ collects and assimilates cosmic energies which are necessary for the development of this planetary organism. Disgracefully, to be a machine is not very pleasant, yet it is what the so-called human being is. He is a machine. That is what he is, yes, and nothing else. When a rebel rises with his weapons against nature, when he wants to stop being a machine, then the tenebrous powers fight against him to the death. The human beings who are capable of fighting the tenebrous forces, to fight against nature, against the cosmos, etc. are very, very rare. Commonly, these type of rebels capitulate. Many are called, yet few are chosen. Only a few individuals attain victory against nature and achieve the right to sit on the throne of power in order to rule over it, i.e. manifesting the Christ. The Lemurians already had suspected all of this. They understood with their instinct that human beings, after having offered their services as machines to this nature, were becoming perverse. Let's see. Great cosmic desiderata are behind Adam and Eve. This sacred commission is what is hidden behind the drama in the Edenic scenario. Thus, everything was fulfilled and the human being received the damned stigma, the Kundabuffer Organ. In this course of time, many centuries after the Holy Commission returned, this time committed by the Arch-Seraphim Siddhartha, due to the fact that the angel Sakaki had converted himself into one of the four tetra-sustainers of the universe. So the hierarchy of the voice of God, it goes way beyond than just archangels and angels and beyond the cherubim, etc. Because the hierarchy of the voice of God echoes into eternity. Traditions state that they were returned precisely 3 years later. Nonetheless, these 3 years were symbolic. The fact then was that after severe examination of the situation, the archphysician and the chemist Angel Luisos destroyed the Kundabuffer organ from within the human race, since the human race did not need it anymore. The human being had abandoned all of his suspicions as he had become fascinated with the beauties of this world. The gods saved the human being from a great crisis. They achieved making the human being fascinated with this world in order that he could live within it as any planetary citizen, yet the gods could not save him from the evil consequences of the Kundabuffer organ, the klipothic tree of life. Evil consequences of such an organ were converted into mistaken habits and customs that entered the depths of our psyche and became converted into the subconsciousness. Thus, the ego, or the psychological I, is the same subconsciousness that is rooted in the evil consequences of the Kundabuffer organ. The most saintly Ashiata Shiyamash fought very hard in order to take the evil consequences of the Kundabuffer organ out from humanity. The Holy Lama in Tibet suffered very much in order to save humanity from the horrifying consequences of the aforementioned fatal organ. Buddha, Jesus, Moses, and other masters passed through much bitterness in order to liberate humanity humanity from the disastrous consequences of the Kundabuffer Organ, Satan's tail, the ego, the doctrine of the I. Therefore, the sacred commission of ineffable beings threw upon their shoulders a terrible cosmic karma. They will pay such karma in the future Manvantara. Listen to me, Gnostic brothers and sisters. You must comprehend that you can end the evil consequences of the Kundabuffer Organ only with 3 factors of revolution of the consciousness. These 3 factors are death of the psychological I, birth of the being within us, freeing the essence, the soul, bottled up by the ego, with the scalpel of self-criticism to cut the essence of the ego and the different dimensions of the I out. Birth of the being within us, which is our resurrection of the soul and sacrifice for humanity, because now you understand the working of the universe and the sacrifice necessary. That is, and knowing that is not just about us doing this stuff. This is about expanding humanity, bro. You know what I'm saying? The I dies based on rigorous creative comprehension. The being is born within us with the mathuna, sexual magic. Sacrifice for humanity is charity and very well understood love. So, when we talk about the Sahaja Mahuna, sexual magic, we're stepping into the world of white tantrism, you know what I'm saying? And which is white magic. So you're converting the energy of the Kundalini organ into higher energy so it can be facilitated and rise through the realms. And each vertebrae of the spinal column is a degree of initiation. That's why they talk about the 33 degrees of initiation, because in Freemasonry, and that's why they have the different rituals for each initiation, because it's a symbol of what happens with the Kundalini organ, and they are doing it with the Kundabuffer organ, and internally they're going to go through different initiations, and they symbolize it with what goes on physically in the physical realm, because they're basing everything on the carnal nature and passions of the root chakra and the region and realm of Malkuth, the Sephiroth of Malkuth, you know, and that's why they do it on the earthly plane. But the true initiation happens in the astral realm. You know, when you'll have certain internal experiences, certain dreams, you know, in the astral plane, certain meditative experiences. You know, you'll feel the growth, you'll feel the ascension of the Kundalini, because once it does happen, once you tap into the subtle energies by doing all of these things and taking into consideration all the different aspects of the alchemical process, we facilitate the growth of the Kundalini, and that's just what happens. You know what I'm saying? And well, first we must do these 3 things. We must do these 3 things, and it is very, very important that I stress this, because what happens is if you only do one or the other of these exercises, you're only basing it on the ego. And so when that happens, no matter what you think out of your own virtues, you are going to believe you're doing the right things, but it will manifest as a Kundabuffer organ, and you will dwell in the depths of the infernos, you know what I'm saying? And that's where we have suffering, etc. The I and with the Sahaja Mahuna and sexual magic between the 2 twin flames, which unite when we finally reach the realm of Gabora, of intuition and clairvoyancy, we reunite with our partner in order to churn the flames of the sexual energy, which you do with your partner, you know what I'm saying? And it is very important to understand that, because that's just another part of the alchemical process. And Samael Aun Weor went in within himself and had visions of the Kundalini mother and talked to her within the astral plane. And he asked her, Mother Goddess Kundalini, is it possible for one to truly reach enlightenment if they don't do this, if they don't practice the Sahaja Mahuna with their twin flame, and practice the perfect matrimony, the unification of the Ida and Pingala along the Sushumna canal to become one with those 2 energies physically, which translates everywhere else? And she said, no, son, you may not. No, you may not, bro. So we have to do all of these things. And the man, has to go in the man will never go the depths without the female, and the female will never go the heights without the man. And that's what it is. The man is the structure of the ocean, the earth, and the woman is the ocean itself, the nurturing energy that gives life to all. We all require water. We're the earth, it gives us that. But then the water supplying the nutrients to the different aspects of the earth is going to help it rise and grow. So the water, the nurturing energy, rises upon the earth. The feminine energy rises upon the masculine energy, but it can't go the depths without the feminine. And that's why it's very important to understand these two aspects. Jesus Christ, he had his feminine counterpart that he practiced the Sahaja Mahuna with. Buddha had his feminine counterpart he practiced the Sahaja Mahuna with. Krishna had his counterpart that he practiced the Sahaja Mahuna with. And all of this was transmutating the sexual energy and eliminating the ego. And we have to go in and understand. So the schools which teach the connection. So the schools which teach the ejaculation of semen, even when they do this in a very mystical way, are really black schools, because the Kundabuffer organ is developed with such a practice. The schools which teach the connection of the lingam yoni without ejaculation of semen are white schools, because this is how the Kundalini rises through the medullary canal upon the spermatic channels of the Ida and the Pingala, the masculine and feminine, yin and yang, dark and light. We have to unite them all. And the schools which teach how to strengthen the psychological eye are black schools, because the evil consequences of the Kundabuffer organ are strengthened with that procedure. The schools which teach the dissolution of the eye, mystical death, are white schools, rebirth, are white schools, because they destroy the evil consequences of the Kundabuffer organ. The Kundabuffer organ is the tail of Satan. It is the sexual fire descending from the coccyx downwards towards the atomic infernos of the human being. So we have to understand, this is where the ego emanates from. This is what the ego, its manifestation is. And now we understand the aspects of the divine manifestations as well, and how we need to rise through the spheres and do the disciplines, go through the austerities, rise through the initiations, the canals of the spinal column, and go up the 33 degrees to reach the Christ, the crown. And so I'm gonna read you this little story about Persephone and Demeter. And this also symbolizes Persephone, which is the symbol of the soul, enters into Mother Nature through the door of Yasad. In this case, Mother Nature becomes our mother, since through the process of the law of evolution, she creates for us what we call the protoplasmic bodies. The protoplasmic bodies are very simple when they start developing in the mineral kingdom, but we know that the Divine Mother Nature, who gives these protoplasmic bodies freely to every soul that enters into the world, takes care of all the souls. This is why Persephone is shown as the spoiled child of Demeter, the Divine Mother. Demeter takes the souls from the mineral kingdom to the plant kingdom, to the animal kingdom, and finally to the level of the intellectual animal kingdom of man. So the soul enjoys all of these evolving processes through Divine Mother Nature. In other words, this is why we state that the elementals of nature enjoy eating, and the Divine Mother Nature takes care of them. But unfortunately, when we enter into the intellectual level of Doth, the hidden sphere, that leads to which is in Malkuth and which leads to the Qlipoth, then the intellect starts becoming identified with nature. This is symbolized in Persephone when she goes to cut flowers, or in Narcissus and other myths. Narcissus precisely hides that symbol. This is why this is why we call people narcissists when they are identified with themselves or with the beauty of nature. This is how we, unfortunately, have become identified with the beauties of nature and forgotten our own divine origin, our superior origin. Thus, when we as consciousness start identifying so much with our animal nature, then all of a sudden all the earth opens and Pluto appears and rapes, which is also Hades, abducts Persephone and takes her to hell to become his queen. This is devolution, or the way in which we become identified with the laws of devolution, which Pluto is in charge of. Pluto, Hades, is that of intelligence in the physical body. If you observe the physical body, it has a lot of knowledge, intelligence, but we are not aware of it. The digestive system, the respiratory system, the circulatory system. When we investigate the physical body, all of its functions, we then become amazed when we see how wonderful the physical organism is. Scientists in this day and age become amazed when they study the physical body, yet they ignore too many things about the physical body and its alchemical processes. The physical body is capable of doing many things that people at these present times ignore, and this is because they did not acquire cognizance of all the functions of their physical body, which is the duty of their soul here in this physical world. Besides, this is not easy, because within the physical body we have the subconscious, unconscious, and infraconscious aspects of Hades, which now everybody has active. And this is just due to the karmic effects of what's been going on, and this is how we reverse the karmic effects. You know, and I know we don't have one life, man, but we can't treat it like we have so many, because the one who has 108 lives left, and the one who has one life left. If one of them is not enthusiastic in embracing the divine, and rising through the tree of life, and going through Malkuth into the realms of the Qlipoth, where the ego lies, the different manifestations of the ego, they're doomed to that cycle. So we can't take this lightheartedly. We can't take this as just something to peep game at. We gotta actually jump in and tap into the source of creation, man. So that's what the Kundalini, that's what the Kundabuffer Organ is, and it seems that it's not so it's not as heavy, you know what I'm saying? But it's the exact opposite that we tap into energetically, and we can manifest the suffering, the realm where only screaming and the gnawing and gnashing of teeth is heard, you know what I'm saying? And that's where hell is, and this is what it means to be in hell. This is where the realm of hell, this is what it means, you know what I'm saying? And Samael is the name of one of the Qlipoth in the Kabbalah, the shadow of the Kabbalistic tree of life. It is the shadow of the crown. While Cather is concerned with the unity of God, Samael represents the dual contending forces struggling, and it is represented by two giant heads with bat-like wings. The Qlipoth are not opposite of the Sephiroth, but the shadow. They are the chaotic forces that are unleashed when one of the Sephiroth is not in balance with the others. Therefore, although Cather is concerned with unity, implicit in his existence is the concept of duality. It is the first emanation from the Ein Sof, the point of consciousness that crystallizes out of the vast emptiness. The ruler of Samael is Satan. Satan in legend was the chief of the angels, holding a position similar to that of Cather. According to Islamic legend, after God created man, Satan and his angels refused to bow down before man, or before Adam. So he identified solely with his angelic right in his place in the hierarchy of the voice. He identified. His ego became full. You know what I'm saying? And Ralph Austin describes that in the thought of the Islamic mystic Ibn Arabi, the diabolical principle is that which resists the self-realizing urge to create the own other object creation, and insists in the sole right of the pure spirit and transcendence. This being the reason for Satan's refusal to obey God's command to prostrate himself to Adam, from jealousy for the integrity of pure spirit. So his identity was with his integrity of pure spirit, and how he's above this being, when in all reality everything works together, you know what I'm saying? And it's for him to identify with that's what caused the downfall of him, you know what I'm saying, of his angelic presence. Seeing this in a Kabbalistic way, this means the refusal of Kether, the pure spirit, to find completion and the self-realization through the act of emanation and creation, terminating in Malkuth. So this is to deny these practices, to deny the truth, to deny the ascension, to wanna only to find excuses and reasons why the doctrine does not need to be followed when it has been laid out for us throughout time in different masks. So right away, this is it. This is the beginning of the descent into the Qlipoth, is the denial of self, because you're not only going against who you are, but you're separating yourself from what it means to expand and what it means to be a human being, and therefore your energy and resonant is going to show that. It's going to be all carnal passions, beastly natures, man. You know what I'm saying? And it insists on the separate reality of cosmic life and the substance that which denies all primacy to the spirit. In other words, it is the principle that which would seek to insist on the separate reality of either pole at the expense of the other, and thus to impair the original wholeness of the divine experience as the reality by trying to sever the all-important link between own and other, and consign each to mutually exclusive isolation and absurdity, which nearly fits the Kabbalistic description of Satan as the master of the dual contending forces. So when it comes to that, it's a battle. It's a battle, you know what I'm saying? And we have to face this battle with courage and understanding of who we are as a being, you know what I'm saying? And in order to do that, we have to embrace who we are, and we have to eliminate the ego. This is why when to identify with the ego, it's just a battling of the forces, but to not and remember who we are from the source. That's true. That's truly uniting with who we are. So Samael Aun Weor, in the belief system of Kabbalah, is the name of the Qlipoth corresponding to the Sephiroth Chakma in the Tree of Life. They are demons, the hinderers, described as black evil giants with serpents entwined around them, and they are attached to lying and material appearances, in opposition to those of reality and wisdom. In the Kabbalah, the Qlipoth represents the unbalanced force of a particular Sephiroth, or attribute of God, and how the doshas resonate and with different astrological signs. So it all shows different, it all comes back to the same thing, and it comes back to the imbalance of these energies and understanding how to balance them on every single level alchemically, and just doing a few things ain't gonna work, you know what I'm saying? We gotta live it out in the moment and really integrate these levels of being, and to claim for yourself that I'm already doing it, you're identifying with it, and this is not about identifying. This is about becoming what we are beyond this, because this is what we're meant to do, as a human being. It's the sphere spreading confusion of the power of God, so all of these are different virtues of the ego that are going to manifest, and you think they're positive. So the work of the ego usually, and to work with the mind and to kill the different dimensions of the psychological eye, the doctrine of the eye, and eliminate the Kundabuffer Organ, is usually thought of doing the opposite. So the work is not a joke. The work is not a joke. It's completely severing the ego from what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Samael is one of the Qlipoth corresponding to the Sephiroth Banah of the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. It represents the concealment of God, which hides the face of mercy, anger, and rage. The form of the demons attached to this Qlipoth are the black veiled heads with the horns, with hideous eyes seen through the veil, followed by evil centaurs. The Qlipoth are the shadow of the Sephiroth, the chaotic forces that exist when the Sephiroth is unbalanced, when the dosha is unbalanced, when your astrological sign is only revealing the darkness of the psyche. Through her, the spiritual energy of Cather and Chakma are woven into the matrix that eventually become matter. But when this force is unbalanced, when the spiritual principle is hidden, matter is taken to be simply matter and is not understood to be simply condensed energy, which is crudified spirit. Banah, the giver of form, becomes Samael, the concealer of spirit. Samael is described in the book of Enoch as the 17th watcher of the 20 leaders of the 200 fallen angels. The name is believed to be of Babylonian origin in combination of Shatar and El, God, with the meaning of side of God, the moon of God, or the dawn of God. Man, so it just shows how all of these are negative emanations, you know. And if you want to look more into these as well, I'll definitely put the link for sure at the bottom, because, you know, look, you know, the smiters, you know, it shows the negative manifestation of the Qlipoth of Chesed. So the darkness of Chesed is described as the disturber of all things, and the form of its demons are black cat-headed giant. So the smiters, you know, it's the energy of loving, but now you're smiting people. You know what I'm saying? And Gabora, you know, Gabora Galakab, the arsonist, you know, burners with fire. And the image of the demons associated with it are enormous black heads with like a volcano in eruption. The Qlipoth are the shadow of the Sephiroth, the chaotic force that exists within the Sephiroth out of balance. Gabora is the Sephiroth of restraint, which takes away which is unnecessary in the cosmos, destroys the wicked, fights evil and injustice, and maintains an equilibrium with Chesed, loving kindness. However, it is obvious to see that when this force is out of balance, it becomes too destructive and burns that which shouldn't be burned. While the Qlipoth of Chesed may represent unbridled conservatism, Golachab represents unbridled radicalism and tyranny that brooks no opposition and executes all of its opponents. Golachab, burners, in Kabbalistic tradition are the Qlipoth of demonic powers associated with Gabora, the 5th Sephirah of the Tree of Life. So as you can see, demonic powers, so you can tap into this energy by doing dark and black magic as well, instead of practicing Astrotheology and the divine methods of magic that alter this reality and tap into the divine. You know what I'm saying? So it just shows how when you hear the word Kabbalah spelled with a Q one time, it's really talking about the Qlipoth. You know, when we talk about the temple, the Knights Templar, and, you know, their whole, you know, journey of the Crusades and all the death that came upon it, and how the different degrees of initiation and the rituals of the Shriners of the Freemasonry. And when we talk about the different types of manifestations when we talk about how the higher ups and the elites are using that energy in the human machine, they're tapping into Qlipothic energy, and by us not eliminating the ego, regardless, if you look, that we're already tapping into the Qlipothic energy, and the Kundalini buffer or the Kundabuffer organ is going into the infernos of the tree of death, and we're resonating with the powers of these energies, which it does feel powerful, it does feel like a virtue, it does feel good on an earthly plane to the carnal passions. So we have to understand, to rise out of these, you know, that, you know, we have to do it, you know what I'm saying? And I'm going to leave the rest of this link so you can see how they manifest on a negative level, you know. And look, we look at the spinal column, the different levels of energy with the chakra system, and how they rise in different realms. If we threw the tree of life, it would associate completely with this right here, and we have to rise upward and not downward, you know what I'm saying? And that is with the illumination of the ego, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, what is the ego though? You know what I'm saying? Latin for I, similar to the Greek. I don't even know how to say that one time. Enlighten me, you feel me? In religion, spirituality, mythology, and mysticism, the term ego is very different from how the word is used in the psychoanalysis of Freud. Spirituality, spiritual psychology is the core meaning of all religious and mythological symbolism, dating back to the origins of all great civilizations. In spiritual psychology, the term ego refers to the structures in the mind that trap the consciousness, soul, psyche, Buddha, nature, Jiva, and Nefesh. Although we feel ourselves as the ego, the reality is that the ego is a cage that traps our true nature. Although we feel ourselves as the ego, although we hold the virtues of the ego, it's a cage that traps our true nature. That is, our true nature is in the ego, trapped. That is what is symbolized in all of our ancient myths. Of key importance in spiritual psychology is the impermanence and unreliability of the ego. Our egoic sense of self is fleeting, subject to forces we do not and cannot control, and ultimately always leads to suffering. Thus, the wise person seeks to find a stable, reliable, beneficial foundation in their psyche, which is free, unmodified consciousness. To succeed in this effort requires very precise training and many years of psychological work. Do not fool yourself to think that this is not a lifetime study. You know what I'm saying? Do not fool yourself and do not identify with the carnal passions to think that we don't have any more work to do and we're already done, because it would emanate in many ways. You know what I'm saying? The whole world would feel it. The ego is a multiplicity of contradictory psychological elements that we have inside and in their sum are the ego. Each one is also called an ego or an I. Every ego is a psychological defect that produces suffering. The ego is often symbolized as three, such in the three Furies or the three traitors of Jesus, Choram, Abith, Job, etc. The three traitors relate to our three brains or three centers of psychological processing. 7, as it is in the 7 capital sins: laziness, sloth, lust, pride, anger, hate, envy, greed, avarice, and gluttony. Legion in their infinite combinations, such as the serpents on Medusa's head, the many heads of the Hydra killed by Hercules, or the legion that afflicted the suffering man in the wilderness of the Christian Gospels. It is universally represented that our reunion with the divine, which in Latin is called religare, which the root word of religion, and in Sanskrit is called yoga, to unite, is achieved through the death of the ego, which causes the division. So, you know, for real, yoga is much more than just doing the stretches of hatha yoga. And if it's not being used as a tool to facilitate more energy, it is of the ego, and that's why it does have the connotation of black magic. But to unite and to kill the ego through the 4 branches of yoga, which transform the energy, understand the energy, do the devotion of the energetic work to humankind without the sense of self beyond us, to a personal God and to our personal Father that guides in secret, and to also do the actions necessary selflessly to influence the people around you and everything in life that you do, you know, that is loving and caring and sacrifice of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Om Namah Shivaya, you know, because it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to do, you know. And let's look at quotes about the ego, man. Shun all pride and jealousy. Give up all idea of me and mine. As long as there is consciousness of diversity and not of unity in the self, a man ignorantly thinks of himself as a separate being, as the doer of actions and the experiencer of effects. He remains subject to birth and death, knows happiness and misery, is bound by his own deeds, good or bad. Hinduism, Srimad Bhagavatam 11:4. In thinking this I and that is mine, he binds himself with his self, and as does a bird with a snare. Hinduism, the Maitri Upanishad 3:2. Traveling powerless like a bucket traveling in a well. First with the thought I, misconceiving the self, then arising attachments to things with the thought mind. Buddhism, Khandra Kirti, Madhyamakavatara 3. Put to death what is earthly in you: fornication, impurity, passion, evil desire, and covetousness, which is idolatry. On account of these the wrath of God is coming. In these you once walked, when you lived in them, but now put them all away: anger, wrath, malice, slander, and foul talk from your mouth. Colossians 3:5-8. I am not, I will not be, I have not, I will not have. That frightens all the childish and extinguishes fear in the wise. By him who speaks only to help beings, it was said that all beings have arisen from the conception of I and are enveloped within the conception of mind. The I exists, the mind exists. These are wrong as ultimates, for the two are not established by a thorough consciousness of reality just as it is. The mental and physical aggregates arise from the conception of I, which is false in fact. How could what is grown from a false seed be true? The false seed be true. How could what grown from it, the false seed of the tree of death, you know what I'm saying, the klipothic energy, the negative manifestation of the divine, so there we have it right there of what it means to manifest the hellish realms of energy and to resonate with them and to manifest the realms of heaven. Now, why there are different virtues we have to embody and what that means and what that does. So when a human being disintegrates all of his defects, then his I is dissolved. The truth comes unto us when the I is dissolved. This is how we become perfect clairvoyants. The truth is born from creative comprehension. The truth is non-temporal, eternal, and divine. The I cannot know the truth because the I is just a bunch of memories. The I is of time. The I is born in time and dies in time. Death is just a subtraction of fractions. After finishing the mathematical operation, death, only the values remain. Later on, such values return into newborn physical bodies. That's why we go among the wheel of samsara, the wheel of the astrological signs. Such values are the I, the myself, the returning ego. Therefore, the I is just illusion. Any crime, any felony, and any vice are the fatal outcome of the affirmation of the I of the myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to treat everything as divine. We can't, like stealing, you know what I'm saying? Robbing people, you know what I'm saying? Claiming something as being deserved. All of these type of things, killing, fornication, lust, all of these type of things are negative manifestations of the ego. And to identify with them is to have them continue happening and to justify your actions. The I is the heresy of separatism. The I is the origin of egotism, hatred, fornication, adultery, envy, anger, etc., etc. The I is the thirst of pleasures and the source of pride and vanity. Therefore, in order to incarnate the truth, one needs to dissolve the I. In order to attain internal peace, one needs to dissolve the I, the myself. In order to acquire perfect clairvoyance and supreme illumination, one needs to dissolve the I. The truth is the internal Christ of every human being. The I is the Satan that we carry inside. Where the I is, the truth cannot be. The truth cannot enter where the I abides. The Lord is the truth. A thought, view, or attitude especially based mainly on emotion instead of reason. How could the authentic sentiment of the being existent in us when the eyes are feeling and thinking for us? The most grave part of this tragedy is that one thinks that one is thinking, feels that one is feeling, when in reality it is someone else that in a given moment thinks in our martyrized brain and feels in our sore heart. We will talk about the sentiment of oneself. It is worthwhile to reflect about the sentiment of ourselves. It is convenient to understand profoundly what the false sentiment of the I is. We always have in the bottom of our heart the sentiment of ourselves. What is convenient to know if the sentiment is correct or mistaken, it is necessary to understand what the sentiment of the I is, the dimensions of the ego. First of all, it is urgent to understand that people would be ready to leave alcohol, the theater, smoking, parties, etc., but not their own sufferings. People adore their own pains, their sufferings. They would more easily renounce a moment of happiness than their own sufferings. However, it seems paradoxical that everybody speaks against sufferings and complains about their pains, but when in truth it is necessary to leave them, in no way they would be disposed to do so. So we have to understand too, That virtue can manifest in the klipothic energy, the demonic, dark energy of hell, of the hellish nature. This is where we get it from. Not speaking in a simple religious context. You know, we're talking about the infernos. You know what I'm saying? You know, the different realms beyond beyond Malkuth. You know, that goes into the klipothic energies. You know, we're syncretically seeing this as a truth, as an understanding of manifestation of energy. How the Kundalini can either rise upward or rise or extend downward and become the tail of Satan. You know, so the dissolution of Satan's tail, the dissolving of Satan's tail, you know, the killing of the doctrine of the eyes is to free the essence that is bottled up by the ego, which manifests in all of these different ways. And that's why we have the commandments. That's why we have the virtues of the divine and all the different cultures, because you're embodying an energy. That's what you're doing. You're tapping into an energy of the source, and you can fall or rise. In the story of Adam and Eve, and all the different stories of time show the falling and the rising that occurs within the body, which in Astrotheology we look at it in syncretism. We see that everything within us is reflected into the cosmos, and the cosmos is reflected within us. We have to take into consideration these beautiful things that have been laid out for us, and we can experience this stuff because we must rise, not for ourselves but for humanity. This is in sake of expanding our energies in a way that we can truly shine as our soul's purpose, without identifying with the carnal passions and natures, to really show what it means to bring the golden age back in heaven, back on earth. And this is what it means when the Christ comes back. The Christ is coming back again. You know, he's not speaking about himself. He's speaking about the Christic energy, because he's dissolved the identity, the individuality, the separateness, the ego. He's left the klipothic energy completely, done the exercises to understand the different realms of the divine, and reunite the Kundalini buffer organ, or the Kundalini organ with the Christ within, and have the sacred secretion occur successfully, and the chrism happen, and truly become an anointed one. You know, so how do we do this, man? You know what I'm saying? What's different ways that we can do this? What is alchemy? What does that mean? You know, this is a little article called "Merits of the Heart." You know, and what can we do? You know what I'm saying? And it's the transmutation of sexual energy. So alchemy today is often referred to as the mother of chemistry. Books by medieval alchemists contain instructions of the use of various substances, and if we understand how to manipulate the elements on a material level, energetically, we have all the elements guided by the different planets and the building blocks of nature within us. So we have air, space, ether. We have air, space, and ether. We have wind. We have earth, fire, and water. We have all of those within us. So if you look at this as symbolism, these and other substances are to be heated, combined, and recombined in various elaborate ways, so that the final product is gold. The image of the alchemist laboring in his laboratory, trying in vain to turn lead into gold, the lead of the personality into the gold of the spirit, is ingrained in contemporary thought and culture. Unfortunately, the efforts of the medieval alchemists are believed to have been futile. However, is that the authentic alchemists of the Middle Ages, such as Paracelsus, Nicolas Flamel, Cagliostro, Count Saint Germain, Basil Valentine, and others, were using their alchemical language in a veiled manner. They had a secret knowledge from what was to be revealed only to the initiated, and so they spoke and wrote about it in coded form. They were very successful at hiding the true meaning of their secret, since almost any treatise on medieval alchemy is difficult to understand and almost impossible to decipher without the key. You need the keys to unlock the mechanism. You know, and This is what we're trying to understand. This is what we've been going over this whole episode right here. And the past couple the past couple episodes I put down, you know what I'm saying, on YouTube, man. You can check out my other videos and how these all correlate and correspond to each other on the alchemical process of what it means to expand the energetic field and reunite with the Godhead, you know what I'm saying? And we're trying to find out the keys, man, and hopefully this experience can really help you out, because this isn't about me, this is about y'all, you know what I'm saying? This is about the universe, you know, this is about the universal expansion, because who am I to cover this information? You know, it's a sin to do so, and I will not resonate with the klipothic energy, you know, and it really means, like, you know, this isn't about me. Like, y'all are the loves of my life, man. And in order to express that energy, like, we need to come together and congregate, give each other our experiences, our failures, you know, what it means to expand together on an honest experiential level, man. Because damn, man, like, it's just how are we gonna grow as a human being? You know what I'm saying? So we need to reunite and take up the divine right and what it means to do this, man. And so alchemy is one of the cornerstones of Gnostic esoteric work. In his writings, Samael Aun Weor unveils the secret of alchemy and discusses its importance in detail. The metals that the alchemists refer to are not things found in the world around us, but rather are substances found within our own bodies and psyches. Transmute the lead of the personality into the gold of the spirit. So eliminate the ego, the I, to free the bottled up essence, the soul. The core of alchemists and the Christ. The core of alchemists' long and cryptic discourses, when unveiled, is a straightforward sexual concept. It consists of the transmutation of the sexual energies or secretions through the practice of the sexual act between husband and wife, but without ever wasting the sexual energies, i.e. never reaching the climax or the orgasm or the indulgence in the carnal passions. And to say, like, dude, you know what I'm saying, like, if you haven't tried it, you know what I'm saying, if you haven't understood the alchemical process and the elimination of the ego, to say that how can we do this, because isn't that the best part? That is an ego. That is an egoic aspect of separation of what it means to embrace this. So we have to question ourselves and use the scalpel of self-criticism to eliminate the ego and free the essence which is bottled up within it. The idea of intercourse without reaching orgasm may seem at first unusual, but if it is practiced correctly, it gives us the ability to achieve self-realization. Bursts of energy, the prana is converted, you know, and but I will go into the negative manifestations of the Kundalini energy as well, because if you're not doing the right things necessary in eliminating the ego, but you're trying to be a white tantric and practice the Sahaja Mahuna, it's still going to manifest as the Kundabuffer Organ regardless, because the ego is still alive. And even though you eliminate some aspects of it, in some situations it might come up again. That's why it's a lifetime work. It's a lifetime work. You know what I'm saying? The people that were successful, look at their lives and what they did. We have Krishna, Osiris, you know, Quetzalcoatl, Fushi, you know, all, you know, Jesus Christ, you know, Jesus of Nazareth, man. We have all these examples of what it meant to eliminate the ego, the I, and expand. Not through reading books, not through simply just doing little exercises, not through simply theorizing. This is from experience, traveling the lands, doing the different exercises, because if you only do one way, that is egoic in itself. That is egoic in itself, because it's all love and understanding. There's no separateness in the one, you know. And in modern society, the sexual energies and spirituality going hand in hand seems like a contradiction, but this is not so. However, when sexual alchemy is performed correctly, a hermetic axiom states, as above, so below. And by practicing alchemy, we are using the same primary forces of creation that the Creator uses in order to bring everything into existence. Only we are using these forces at a different level of being. Through sexual alchemy, We create the esoteric vehicles and virtues that enable us to reach the divine. So we talk about the virtues, the commandments, the spheres of the tree of life, as opposed to going the opposite way, because we are a farmhouse of dark energy, and they want us to go into the infernos, the higher ups. And that's why society is molded the way it is, from the base level to how we think, how our psychological structure is made up, and what our potentials are and it echoes through everything. It echoes through the media, the way that food is being represented, to the way that exercise is being represented, to the way that the mind is being looked at. Everything. Like, imagine if we just understood the energetic aspects of all of this and how they manifest on the wrong level, instead of feeding into them and then identifying them, which further does the work of Satan, the eye. You know what I'm saying? And this isn't just about religion. This isn't just about Christianity or Buddhism or whatever. This is about what it does, what it's doing, why it is a foundation for human expansion, why it's become so powerful in that body of energy from the source, why it's become a voice of God, and why we can tap in and resonate with that voice of God. That's what we're looking at. You know what I'm saying? We can't just, it's not just about the minuscule aspects of identity to identify and say I'm a Christian or I'm a Buddhist, or I'm a Gnostic, or I'm this. Like, how are you gonna say you are anything and then not emulate that with your actions and say that God will forgive me? That is wrong way to think about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this, it all comes down to the manifestation of the esoteric vehicles through sexual alchemy, beyond fornication, and the virtues that enable us to reach the divine. Transmutation gives us large quantities of energy. Instead of the sexual energies being wasted through orgasm, they are transmuted or transformed into a finer, more potent form of energy. The physical, psychic, and spiritual energies that accumulate through the sexual transmutation are of an extremely powerful nature, and it is energy of this quality that we need to successfully progress in the Gnostic esoteric work. And that is so amazing, man. You know what I'm saying? Gotta throw a little mantra one time, give you guys some beautiful energy, you know what I'm saying? It helps me channel as well, because this isn't my message, man. This isn't my message. And peace, love, and light, Thank you so much for tapping in. And so it's an extremely powerful nature, and it is energy of this quality that we need to successfully progress in the esoteric work. Sexual transmutation, the practice of sexual alchemy, has often been referred to in Gnosis as working in the ninth sphere. So the ninth sphere, if we look at the 108 different lifetimes that we're supposed to have as a soul, and then we also look at the number 9, which the Qlipoth directly relates to the different tarot. And when Metatron came down and gave Moses the commandments, he actually gave him the letters of the different characters of the Hebrew language, and they also resonated with the 22 major arcana of the tarot. So the tarot, I'm gonna do an episode about the history of the tarot, what it really means to use it, and we just gonna talk about divination, and I'm gonna talk about the runes, etc. Like, I got some things in store for y'all, you know what I'm saying? The divine has been telling me or has been channeling this through me, and it just needs to be addressed, because everything is a tool if it's used correctly. And I'm also going to go into the spirit of alcohol, the spirits of cannabis, the spirit of psilocybin. And I'm going to talk about all of them and debunk how it's so negative for the spirit. And I'm going to, only if it's approached in a shamanic, ritualistic manner, in the will of God and the divine. And prayer itself can change the molecular structure of things in front of it. So that's why you pray on your meal. You pray internally, and at the end of a prayer we say, Amen. we have the putamen within the mind. You know what I'm saying? And so when we say Amen, we're giving praise to the divine within us, the limitless light, the Ansaf Or, the divine flame that rests on the seat of the pineal. You know, so and it's within the putami. So we have to understand that we are always resonating at a certain level when we do this, man. So prayer is powerful. So when it comes to praying about us, praying before doing something, and or not, you know, it's gonna have a difference, man. So I'm gonna talk about all these things further, so how we can use everything as tools in this universe, man, because everything is divine, and the only thing that demonizes something is the klipothic resonance of the identity. And if you look throughout society and how we treat substances and treat different spirits and manifestations of energy, it gets demonized. Like Satan is not what's going on in here, it's out there that makes us do things, when in all reality what's out there in the separateness is what Satan is. You know what I'm saying? So we have to understand that that's a manifestation of the ego and the klipothic energy. So it just goes hand in hand, you know what I'm saying? And sexual transmutation is working with the ninth sphere. The number 9 esoterically represents the work with the sexual energies. The card number 9 of the tarot, the hermit, signifies the alchemical work within the lab. The 9th Sephiroth of the Kabbalistic tree of life is Jasad. Jasad means foundation, or Yasad. And it is in this Sephiroth that the sexual forces, which are a living foundation of our physiology, gravitate. The Gnostic teachings stress that it is impossible to attain self-realization without working in the 9th sphere, birth. One of the 3 factors for the revolution of consciousness denotes the creation of those vehicles and virtues that enable us to achieve yoga or union with the divine, to be born. However, it is an entirely sexual matter involving the energies of creation, the base energies of creation. It involves working with the 9th sphere, which is sex, the transmutation of sexual energy, and to eliminate the ego of fornication and understand what is actually abiding natural laws or not, or what is carnal passion and what is not, and to not identify with that. Awakening of the Kundalini. One of the main objectives of the alchemical work is the awakening of the Kundalini energy, the powerful serpentine energy of Oriental philosophy that is found at the base of the spine. The Kundalini currently is found dormant in most people and manifesting as the egoic, klipothic energy that so many of us are bred to be because of the way society has set us up and limiting our understanding and perception to the realms beyond the physical. And so we only resonated with the physical. Like what tasted good, you know, what sounded proper, you know what I'm saying, what felt good, all that stuff, when the soul is experiencing so much more than that on an alchemical level. The awakening and ascent of the Kundalini is governed by certain universal laws that must be adhered to. These are not blind or mechanical laws, but rather conscious laws. The Kundalini is under the control of the Divine Mother and the fires of the heart, and only develops through the work in the 9th sphere and by the merits of the heart. These are the merits obtained through a process of sanctification and purification. The Kundalini will not rise even by a single vertebrae. The chrism will not successfully occur if the merits of the heart required for that vertebrae are lacking. These merits are obtained through the daily observation, comprehension, and elimination. The daily observation, comprehension, and elimination of the negative psychological elements constituting our ego. By disintegrating the psychological defects of the degree, defects a degree of consciousness is freed, and virtues a degree. So we have a degree of consciousness. You rise through the different degrees of ascension, initiation. And virtues opposite to the eliminated defects are then manifested. So it's a fight to kill that off with the scalpel of self-criticism, to free the virtues of the divine and the merits of the heart. This energy is to be obtained through sexual transmutation and working within the 9th sphere. because we have to work with the foundation in order to enter the world of creation, and that is through sexual transmutation. This is why the three factors for the revolution of consciousness, birth, death, and sacrifice, are absolutely necessary for spiritual growth. Birth into this plane of existence, the death of the ego that identifies with this existence and not the beyond, and then the sacrifice of going after that and working on it, not for yourself, but how to really express the soul to humanity, so you can show the light to others, and light can be shown, or so that you can see the light of your inner essence, your soul, so you can show the light to others, and others can realize that the light has always been within themselves. And in addition, sacrifice for humanity is required in order to earn the cosmic capital, which gives us the right to eliminate the ego and obtain the merits of the heart. Currently, we all have many karmic debts, and we pay back these debts through sacrifice for humanity. This is why the three factors for the revolution of consciousness are absolutely necessary for spiritual growth, and we must practice them in a balanced manner. The complete study of alchemy, the ninth sphere, the Kundalini, and the merits of the heart involves a great deal of further explanation and exploration and experience. Much more than can be presented in just a few paragraphs and within a video, man. The investigation of these topics requires both intellectual and intuitive comprehension, and also a need to change out the way of thinking and feeling. This is done in a gradual manner and with an open mind through the practice of the psychological techniques that Gnosis offers. We become more receptive and increase our ability to grasp the profound concepts contained within the esoteric doctrines, man. So it comes down to it, man. Like, so we went over it today, man. We talked about, what the ego is, how it manifests, what it means to tap into demonic energy, and the realms of those energies, the voice of Satan versus the voice of God, in cohesion with one another. We learned how the Kundalini organ can also manifest downwardly through fornication and identifying with the egoic nature that has virtues in itself. And we understand how its imbalance is the manifestation and negative aspect of the fire, the Kundalini, the Kundabuffer Organ, and how the higher ups actually tap into this on a day-to-day basis, you know what I'm saying? And how we feed that and how we can combat it by doing sexual transmutation, by understanding how our physical reality works and not identifying with it, you know what I'm saying? And expanding and using it as a tool to reach the beyond, and we went over it, man, and I really hope this helped, you know what I'm saying? It's been a blessing. I know this was a long one, but on some real, like, it was necessary, y'all. It was necessary, and this ain't a thing, because this isn't about me, this is about the source, this is about reconnecting with the divine. This is about this is about y'all, you know what I'm saying? This is about humanity as a whole, you know what I'm saying? This is about doing this together because we all rise, you know what I'm saying? And peace, love, and light. Thank you for your time today. And you know what? I'm also gonna, actually real quick, I'm gonna go over this real quick because there's this thing called Kundalini syndrome. People think that they have the Kundalini risen and it's only this one thing that they gotta do, and I saw the snake rising, and really there's 7 different bodies that we have to rise, 7 different Kundalini organs up, you know what I'm saying? And so if you just have one and you're only manifesting and going through one aspect of the ego and killing it off, so it rises upon the merits of the heart. So in order to just say like my Kundalini's already risen, like maybe one body has, but we have much more to do and much work to do, and to identify with it too only, and to not think that you don't have more egoic work to do to destroy. You don't have more things to do. That's the ego of separateness, because we have to merge together with everything. So Kundalini in yogic theory is primal energy or Shakti, located at the base of the spine. Different spiritual traditions teach methods of awakening Kundalini for the purpose of reaching spiritual enlightenment. Kundalini is described as lying coiled at the base of the spine 3 times, represented as either a goddess or a sleeping serpent waiting to be awakened. Many individuals whose Kundalini has been unexpectedly unleashed do not know what is happening, and the prevailing social ignorance about this multidimensional transformative process makes it hard to find medical or alternative health practitioners or spiritual advisors who recognize the symptoms, particularly when they are strongly physical. Many people know that the risen Kundalini throws open the gates to a wide variety of mystical, paranormal, and magical vistas, but few realize it can also dramatically impact the physical self in the vessel that is not nurtured properly. You know what I'm saying? So if you're doing half of the white tantric work and you know, you're not going in and killing the ego, but you're like, you know, sexual transmutation and pranayama meditation, I'm already doing all that, you know, like, you know, then I don't need to do anything else. That's the ego, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, to say I know, I'm already doing, etc. You know, that's the manifestation of separation, because we always have to jump in and tap in more and understand the experience instead of separating the experience from theory and saying that I'm already doing something. We have to understand the experiencing for ourselves and really put it to work and integrate it into our life every single day. You know what I'm saying? Every moment. That's a powerful thing. And large percentage of individuals affected have reported long bouts of anomalous illnesses, as well as radical mental, emotional, interpersonal, psychic, spiritual, and lifestyle changes. So it's been, you know, the fire of the Kundalini of the divine burns the cells indiscriminately in the vessel that is unprepared. You know, so it burns indiscriminately. You know, there's a story of Paramahansa Yogananda, and he was talking with a certain master who had achieved samadhi, and he could willfully give that to other students. But when Paramahansa Yogananda asked to reach samadhi and to be given the experience so he can have something to strive for from the master said, "You have much work to do before that can even be possible, because the fire of the divine burns indiscriminately." So he said it would feel like the cells were completely on fire. So this has led to people being completely depressed. You know, this has led to people being in a state of psychosis, sometimes permanent if the effects aren't reversed, if you don't start facilitating the energy properly. And you know, think about it like, you know, if you're trying to prepare the nerves, you know, you're trying to open up different circuitry and pathways within this machine. You know, you have to prepare the different pathways for them to travel right. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have a light bulb that can't handle the voltage of the electricity, the light bulb's gonna burst and explode, or the hardware is gonna fry. So you have to think about this is the source of energy, the Kundalini energy. If it gets shorted out, it's gonna burst and cause damage within the system. So you know, please take this stuff seriously, because this can manifest as very, very harmful things, even to the person that is the most that is trying to do the manifest the divine and reunite with the source. You know, and the virtues of the ego are very hard to break free from. So we have to keep analyzing, and we can't do half of the work. We have to do it all, or else it's gonna manifest as the Kundabuffer or it's gonna be rising, but then at the same time it's gonna short out and cause very, very vast damage, maybe permanent within the system. So we have to take this stuff very seriously, you know, and as a method really to expand our energies or to destroy ourselves, because the Kundalini energy can manifest you, as we talked about earlier, in both ways. You know what I'm saying? So you know, there's a bunch of different symptoms when this happens. Muscle twitches, cramps or spasms, energy rushes or immense electricity circulating the body, itching, vibrating, prickling, tingling, stinging or crawling sensations, intense heat or cold, involuntary bodily movements, jerking, tremors, shaking, feeling an inner force pushing one into postures or moving one's body in unusual ways, may be misdiagnosed as epilepsy, restless leg syndrome, or PLMD, alterations in eating and sleeping patterns, episodes of extreme hyperactivity or conversely overwhelming fatigue, intensified or diminished sexual desires, headaches, pressures within the skull, racing heartbeat, pains in the chest, digestive system problems, numbness or pain in the limbs, particularly the left foot and leg, pains and blockages everywhere, often in the back and the neck, emotional outbursts, rapid mood shifts, seemingly unprovoked or excessive episodes of grief, fear, rage, or depression, spontaneous vocalizations, including laughing and weeping, are as unintentional and uncontrollable as hiccups. Entering and hearing an inner sound or sounds classically described as a flute, drum, waterfall, bird singing, or bees buzzing, but which may also sound like roaring, whooshing, and thunderous noises, or like ringing within the ears. Mental confusion, difficulty concentrating, altered states of consciousness, heightened awareness. So I mean, like, it also manifests positively too, like if you're really doing the work. And I don't, I hope nobody, uses this to identify with the ego and say that I already have the Kundalini risen now. Look at all these things happening to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that. If you're not doing the work and exercising and opening up the heart and exemplifying the merits of the heart and the virtues of the divine, this stuff usually is not is going to manifest very negatively within you, and you will see that as a primal force. But in order to in order to understand it and identify the problem of the identity, we have to go in and do the work necessary. And this is how it manifests positively as altered states of consciousness, heightened awareness, trance states, mystical experience. If the individual's poor belief system is too threatened by these, they can lead to bouts of psychosis or self-grandiosity, thinking you're above people, thinking that you're separate from nature, which is also an ego defect. Psychic experiences, extrasensory perception, which we talked about earlier, out-of-body experiences, past life memories, astral travel, direct awareness of auras and chakras, contact with spirit guides through inner voices, dreams or visions, healing powers, increased creativity, new interest in self-expression and spiritual communication through music, art, poetry, etc., intensified understanding and sensitivity, insight into one's own essence, enhanced awareness of one's energetic environment, including impressions from others, both from people and from the elementals of Mother Earth, from the mineral kingdom to the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, and the intellectual animal, which is man. A negative experience with Kundalini's rising can, depending upon its severity, give anywhere from being mildly upsetting to be truly devastating. But sometimes there may be something to be done about it, you know what I'm saying? So this all comes down to eliminating the ego. So in order for it to rise even upon the different vertebrae and to expand, it's gonna take much more than just doing the little exercises. It rises upon the merits of the heart, and we have to sexually transmute the pranic energy, rise through the realms of the tree of life, and eliminate the ego in order for this to occur, so the sacred secretion, the chrism, can happen properly. And this does not happen overnight. This does not happen in 1 year unless you're truly fucking working like every day. So I mean, this is really, but look at the examples, you know what I'm saying? Look at the examples of life of the people who actually made this occur. And that's how we gotta face it, man. This is a lifelong practice, and we must stay enthusiastic about it so we can manifest the divine virtues and eliminate that Kundabuffer Organ, man. And man, that's all I got for you today, for real now, for real. And I got mad love, peace, love, and light. Thank you so much for the time. This isn't about me. This is about y'all. This is about humanity, man. let's really put the work in so we can shine and show other people that we all have the light within the divine, man. You know what I'm saying? And namaste, om namah shivaya, man, and peace. You know what I'm saying? Stay beautiful, stay healthy. You know, stay expanding, stay seeking. Namaste, y'all.